and get started with some introductions and with how today is going to pan out. So if you've attended one of these sessions before, you can expect it to be pretty much the same. If this is your first time, this will be a general info session about a high-level overview of grad studies here at RISD. We'll talk about the people and places that make RISD great. Then it's about a 30 to 35-minute presentation, and then we'll leave the rest of the time for a Q&A, and we'll answer as many questions as we can. My name is Jennifer Hewins, and I am the Assistant Director for Graduate Admissions. And with me today, I have my colleague, Maren.
Hello, everyone.
Say.
My name is Maren Brennan. I'm really excited to be here. I work predominantly with undergrad, but I'm working more and more with the graduate side of things, and I'm really excited to support Jen in her incredible presentation. And I'm going to be acting as chat manager, so I'm going to be in the background answering questions you have. I do encourage you to kind of hold your questions till the end, because there's a very good chance that your question will be addressed in the presentation itself. But if you don't want to forget, or you're just really excited to ask a question, please make sure to do so in the Q&A chat box, which is a few icons to the right of the chat box where you told us where you're tuning in from. Or you might find it under the three dots on your dashboard, their toolbox. So I'm only going to be addressing questions in there just because otherwise they'll get buried. And we just want to make sure to answer as many questions as we can. Plus, I'll be entering some helpful links in the regular chat box. So I want to make sure, again, for your question to not get buried. But thank you all so much for being here today, and take it away, Jen.
Thank you, Maren. And as you probably noticed, it's probably flashing in the right-hand corner of your screen or wherever it is on your view. This session is being recorded. So if you want a copy of this, you can just email me at admissions@risd.edu, and I can share that with you after this session. All right, for the presentation, we will be turning off our cameras. So I will be doing that and turning on the presentation now. All right. Perfect.
Looks great.
Looks great. Awesome. Thank you, Maren. All right. Perfect. All right. So we'll get started here, introducing RISD. Right. Since you're thinking about grad school, clearly, because you're here with us today, you're likely ready to dig into your creative practice and advance your expertise and learn something new. Whatever it is you're here to learn about, RISD will challenge you to ask questions that matter and help you connect your practice to issues of significance in the world at large. Founded by women in 1877 and famous for our focus on craftsmanship and technique, our programs are rich in tradition, but we're just as well known for innovation and the way we reframe the role of art and design in the world. You can see that in work of RISD graduates like Jenny Holzer, Deanna Lawson, Shazia Sikander, Michael Rock, Kara Walker. Now let's do a quick rundown of our current student body. RISD is fairly small. This slide says 450 grad and 2100 undergrad, but it's more like 435 grad and 2150 undergrad this coming year. The curriculum includes 18 graduate departments in fine art, design, architecture, teaching, and research. Here is our listing of degrees, and here are some more. While our students and alumni pave distinctive paths, they all have one thing in common. They make work by asking questions, both big and small. The grad experience centers around disciplinary immersion and creative exploration. Learning here means you'll be pushed to articulate concepts through close attention to your creative process, both as a method and as a philosophy. You'll iterate to expand the boundaries of your work as you develop critical frameworks and reference points. Your practice and research is pushed further through regular feedback and in-depth critiques. And critical research is furthered by ongoing conversation. You'll be working both individually and collaboratively with guidance from faculty, and you'll draw inspiration and support from your peers. In each degree program, students can take graduate common courses, which allow you to engage in a range of topics and methods across departments. Right here are just an example, a few topics in ceramics. Now, thesis is a major element of all of our graduate programs. During your final year, you'll work on your thesis as a culmination of your grad experience and a catalyst for future professional and creative practice. Most students create a final body of work where we'll look at examples of those in a bit and produce a master's thesis book to accompany it, while students in our liberal arts program, Global Arts and Culture, provide a significant written thesis. All right, and Miriam, if you don't mind just dropping a link to the 2025 thesis show, it's the online publication. Final work has traditionally gone on display at our annual graduate thesis show in the spring. It's both a celebration and an opportunity for students to get their work out in the world. Many departments also have satellite shows of thesis work in New York and Boston. Right, this is a graphic from the thesis show in May. Every year, we also do a special tour for the opening of the thesis show. We will walk a group down. We'll do an abbreviated campus tour, and then we'll walk the group down to the Rhode Island Convention Center for the opening event. It's very celebratory. It's great. The faculty, students, families are there. So if you can make it to campus that day, it's a special one. As your thesis comes together, you'll be advised by instructors who are architects, entrepreneurs, researchers, activists, and more. They're not just teaching this one discipline, but looking at it from a global lens. They've won Guggenheim Fellowships like ceramics faculty Katie Schimmert, who you see here, and National Design Awards. They have a great deal of disciplinary expertise, but most are at home in the space between the disciplines, making unexpected connections in their push for new knowledge. Their research informs the way that they teach, like Anais Msakian, whose work with Advanced Functional Fabrics of America at MIT led to the development of an acoustic fabric with many potential uses related to healthcare and other wearable technologies. Misakian collaborated with a team that included engineers and graduate students at RISD. Here is a prototype shirt from her project. A microphone panel is woven into its back. In addition to being inspired and encouraged by our own faculty, guest critics and speakers regularly come to campus to provide fresh perspective on your work and lecture about their own practice. Recent visitors include Amy Devers, Cornell West, Michelle Alexander, to name a few. Here is an image of our president, Crystal Williams, who came to RISD in 2022. She is a poet, an educator, and a great advocate for arts education and the power of inclusivity within it. Now we're going to dive into some opportunities that are available to grad students. Beyond the studio and the classroom, there are plenty of ways to further your research and practice. One is through assistantships awarded on an individual basis at the time of admission. These assistantships can provide mentor professional training, usually assigned by your department's graduate program director. It's an opportunity to gain teaching and research experience. You'll also have the opportunity to design and teach your own classes during RISD's intensive 5-week winter session, like Epit Kosova and Corwin Lund of glass and sculpture respectively, who co-taught a class, Luminous Structures. Here's Gavin Zeitz from Landscape Architecture and a recipient of the Meharem STEAM Fellowship, which supports summer internships for RISD students and recent alums. All projects on social progress and sustainability in some way. Gavin's interest in how northern landscapes are being altered by climate change and traveled to Iceland to work with the Journal of the North Atlantic and Arctic Iceland. Together, they built a network connecting data from Arctic agencies and stakeholders. Ben Allen, a 2022 graduate of the painting department, recently received a Fulbright scholarship. He researched traditional weaving in his home country of the Philippines. RISD has the most Fulbright recipients of any specialized school, and RISD Careers Office is available to support students throughout the application process. Here is an example of some internships and jobs. Through RISD Careers, you'll see continued support while exploring your opportunities through future internships, residencies, and jobs. They offer programs like in-person portfolio reviews and direct connections to companies and organizations. If you're curious to see the career pathways of each degree program, the RISD Careers website is very robust and lists all of that. So if you go into RISD Careers and look at internships and jobs, they'll have a link for each different program, and it will show you where people have gone on to work and get internships from. Students have access to resources through the Office of Social Equity and Inclusion as well. These include funding for materials, study abroad opportunities, and SEI-specific internships, and more. Right? Back to the work you'll do on campus. You'll spend most of your time independently researching and making in your studio, which will look different depending on your program, ranging from private to semi-private and open concept workspaces. We actually have a graduate-specific tour on our YouTube channel that will kind of give you a glimpse of what some of these different making spaces look like. Here are some images as well. This is in the studio here is likely in our Fletcher building. Same with this one. That's where a lot of our fine art studios are. Whatever the setup, you'll have regular access to your space. For instance, our furniture department houses a full wood and metal shop, plus department laser cutter, rapid prototype machine, and CNC router, among other tools. Another example from textiles department is our jacquard loom. We have facilities on campus to help elevate your work and research, like the Color Lab and the Spatial Audio Studio, which you see here. This is CoWorks, which is an extremely collaborative interdisciplinary space equipped with industrial sewing machines, small-scale CNC routers, and mills, and 3D printers, to name a few. Another well-known research space at RISD is the Nature Lab, a super fascinating place founded in 1937 by Edna Lawrence. It's central to our focus on sustainability and the ways art and design connect to living systems. It houses natural history collection and scientific tools for research. If you happen to join us for our grad campus tours, we make a special stop at the Nature Lab. You can see this in person. RISD is the only art and design school in the US to receive funding through the National Science Foundation, a major award which enabled us to house a biodesign makerspace. Our focus on sustainable design and biodesign means that there's numbers of happenings held each year on campus that bring together innovative thinkers in this space. And then located in the heart of the campus is the RISD Museum. Exhibitions, events, internships at the museum give students something that can't be found at many other institutions, which is the opportunity to engage with renowned art collection for research, curatorial experience, activism, and community. Here you have a beautiful image of our Fleet Library. This is a reimagined bank building in downtown Providence, offers access to a huge collection of books on art, design, architecture, and more. The library also houses a picture collection and materials resource center. So when your professor requires you to provide multiple material iterations, you'll have all the resources to do so. The Fleet Library is also one of the stops on our grad tour. It's the final stop. We stop at the second floor where we have our thesis, the physical thesis book collection. The Fleet Library on the upper levels is also home to the Center for Arts and Language, which offers tutoring and English language support, whether you're working on a paper, artist statement, cover letter, or any other project at the intersection of arts and language. Now, no overview of RISD resources would be complete without talking about Brown University. Brown is our neighbor in Providence, and students can cross-register for classes to support your studies here at RISD. We also have access to Brown's extensive libraries and facilities. Graduate students at both schools also interact socially, and many activities that take place at Brown, like lectures, concerts, and exhibits, are open to the RISD community. Now let's talk about what campus life is like. Our graduate and undergraduate communities converge in green but urban space. There's a steady flow of student activity on College Hill, from students moving between classes to lectures and pop-up installations across campus, to traffic in and out of our museum's Cafe Pearl, where students and faculty gather for coffee. A regular occurrence on campus are gallery shows and opening receptions happening throughout the year. If you Google RISD exhibitions, you'll be able to see the full lineup of all of our opening receptions and gallery shows for the coming year. Grads frequently share their work across the larger RISD community, taking advantage of moments for casual, cross-disciplinary critique. Now let's talk a little bit about Providence. So as you can see, campus has community in a sense of being physically cohesive, but a big part of what makes it unique is how ingrained it is in the city of Providence. The city is known for its excellence in art and education. Located between Boston and New York, Providence is different from its neighbors in that it's small, easy to work in, get around, and has a unique creative culture. From its history of craftsmanship during the Industrial Revolution to its 90s underground noise rock scene, the city is built on a legacy of artistic experimentation. This picture here shows a nearby art center called the Steel Yard, a non-traditional craft school and RISD's frequent collaborator in community events. We are surrounded by Rhode Island's beautiful nature and beaches. We are called the Ocean State. This image is from the Tillinghast Farm, a RISD-owned beach located 15 minutes away from campus by car. And again, this is private access beach. You need an ID to get into the parking lot, but it is a really beautiful spot. Thanks to plenty of studio space and relative affordability, many alumni have set up shop locally, including the experimental design practice Finney House, whose inflatable work here you see set up downtown. So that's an overview of grad studies as a whole. This presentation's timeframe is too short to do a deep dive into each department individually. We'll have sessions throughout the fall that will do that. But I do want to show you some of the most recent work from our graduates. We'll start first with the Fine Arts department. Here is some example from ceramics, digital plus media, more digital media, furniture design, glass, graphic design, jewelry and metalsmithing, painting, photography, printmaking, sculpture, textiles, more printmaking. Now, this is a special highlight on MFA illustration. This is one of our newest graduate degree programs. It's now 3 years old, I believe. The illustration program focuses on critical perspectives, artistic voice, and visual literacy in the public realm. Here are some examples of work from recent graduates. All right, we have a master's in industrial design, MID. We have a master's of architecture program. There is a 2-year advanced standing and a 3-year program. We have a master's in landscape architecture, both a 2 and 3 year program, and a joint MMA master's in marine affairs. This is a joint program with the University of Rhode Island. We have a master's of design in interior architecture. There's 2 tracks in interior architecture, adaptive reuse and experimental narrative environments. I always get hung up on that second one. But here are some images of work. Students will expand their scope for their practice within the interior architecture program. The master's program aims to dig deep, to ask harder questions, to empower new leadership in the field. And yep. The MDes program is a 2-year plus. It starts in the summer of the first year. And now we have the MADE program, the Masters of Arts in Design Engineering program. This is a joint program. It's an 11-month joint program between RISD and Brown University School of Engineering. We don't host the application for this program. So if you are interested in it, you would need to reach out to the Brown admissions office. The unique thing about it being hosted at Brown is that if you're torn between the main program or the Masters of Industrial Design program, you can technically apply for both of them at the same time because they're housed at different schools. Here are some examples of work. All right, and then we have a Master's of Arts and a Master of Arts in Teaching in our Teaching, Learning, Art, and Design program. The MAT leads to a recommendation for certification in the K through 12 teaching. And we do have one liberal arts program. This is Global Arts and Culture, working with faculty. Degree candidates shape individual programs of study and benefit from focused cross-disciplinary study in the context of creative community. It's important to note that this is not a studio-based program. It is liberal arts, so there is a significant amount of writing involved in this program with a written thesis at the end. Perfect. All right, that's all of our 18 programs. Now let's talk a little bit about how to apply. Hopefully many of you have started your application. I hope so. First step is creating a record and starting an application. You'll need a statement of purpose, 3 letters of recommendation, school transcripts. They can be unofficial for the application. And if English is your second language, submit language test scores, either TOEFL, IELTS, or Duolingo. We do not require the GRE here at RISD for graduate admissions. The probably biggest element, or the most important element of the application is the portfolio. And requirements for how much work and the type of work you'll need to submit vary by department. Some departments do have specific requirements, and this can be found online. We also have some portfolio prep sessions on the docket. You can sign up for those online now, where we dive deeper into the portfolio requirements. We'll also have a number of online portfolio review days, all leading up to the application deadline. So I encourage everybody to check out those events. And we just posted today architecture panels and MFA panels with faculty. These will be 1-hour Q&A sessions where you can ask the faculty within the departments themselves about the portfolio requirement. So I know the architecture sessions have been posted online, and I believe the MFA sessions, which I just created today, will be going up shortly. These are very important deadlines. The graduate application is due January 5th. We do not have rolling admissions here at RISD, and we do not take new applications for the spring term. So if you want to study at RISD for the 2026-2027 academic year, you'll need to get your application in by this January 5th, with the financial aid deadline being February 1. All right, if admitted, you'll automatically be considered for assistantships and fellowships, whether you're a domestic or an international student. We ask that you fill out the RISD institutional financial aid form. This will appear in your applicant status portal. There'll be a bunch of, you can't miss it. You'll be bombarded with this once you sign on. But 96% of our students receive fellowships, and that includes domestic and international students. Each fellowship is customized by the department you're applying to, and there's no average fellowship. But if you wish to be considered for aid, it's very important to fill out that RISD institutional financial aid form. All right, that will do it for our presentation. I think I did that in pretty good time. We'll now dive into the Q&A portion of the presentation. Here is just some helpful contact information. It's just admissions@risd.edu. If you think of anything after this, just send us an email. And that's the email you want to email if you want a recording of this as well. But with that, I will stop the presentation and we'll turn our cameras back on to dive into the Q&A.
Excellent. That was
All right, thank you so
fantastic.
much, Maren. I kind of sped through that. It was record time for me.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Um, Perfect.
We do have some questions. I'll just go in order. And again, as a reminder, if you have any questions, as we said, please enter them in the Q&A chat box, not the regular chat box, just so they don't get lost. The first question we have is, do you offer RA or TA for masters, and do you offer fully funded scholarships? Yes.
We do offer assistantships for that, and those that can help supplement your degree. Assistantships vary from program to program. Every program manages it differently. Some departments award them at point of admission. Some wait for the students to start before they award their assistantships. They want to meet you in person and assign them afterwards. And the amount varies between $2,500 to $5,000. Again, it depends on the responsibilities and the program. But like I was said in the presentation, everyone is eligible for fellowships and assistantships. These are based on merit and need. In order to be considered for aid, you do have to fill out the RISD institutional financial aid form. If you don't fill that out, you won't be considered for aid. The amount of aid, like I mentioned, it varies, but typically it does not cover the full cost of attendance. All right.
Absolutely. Also put in the regular chat, like they're asking about like RA as in like resident advisor and like TA as in teaching assistant. I know, I just put in the link for Residence Life. We do have RAs. I know that a lot of RAs are undergrad. I'm not entirely certain if, I think perhaps some of them are grad students, maybe, but I'm not entirely certain. So you would want to double check with them. And then absolutely we have teaching assistants, and that's part of the many work study jobs that we have on campus.
And I just want to add too that many of our graduate students do choose to live off campus at RISD. There is a limited number of housing available for graduate students. So if that's something you're interested in, if you're admitted, you'd want to jump on that pretty quickly to be considered for that. And I just want to note that I'm seeing some questions in the chat. Just make sure you copy and paste them into the Q&A so we are answering them in order of how they received and we don't miss anybody.
This is a great question that we get quite often. Does one need formal art experience to attend RISD? For example, I didn't study the arts during undergrad, but have been an avid painter and creator throughout my life. Does RISD consider this type of application seriously as long as I can show skill and artistic intent?
100%, yes. You are one of many people with that type of background at RISD. It's not required to have that background, an MFA, a BFA, that is, in order to be considered. The most important elements is your portfolio and the statement of purpose. If there's any gaps in your portfolio that you're concerned about, you can mention them in your statement of purpose. But for some of our programs, we do have extended tracks for people who come from fields outside of art and design that will provide you with the foundation that you need.
Absolutely. And in some ways, I would say too, like if you have a different background outside of art, that could potentially make your application even more
Stronger.
interesting in a lot of ways. You
Yep.
have something new to bring to the table. Our
Mhm.
next question is, do you prefer GRE for admission? If yes, then what is the average score required?
We do not require the GRE. We have not required it for quite some time. I wouldn't even know what a score is. It's not something that we keep track of.
Another great question is, what makes RISD's educational approach distinct from other art schools? What's the philosophy behind it all? I can speak to that if you like.
Go ahead, Maren.
Because
Thank
I
you.
talk a lot about it with undergrad too. It's just that RISD stands out because it is very, very much about you're nurturing your ideas. So you'll certainly learn how, the techniques and, how to use mediums and materials and tools. Absolutely. But it's not just about that, where some other schools, and I can't speak to them specifically, but some other schools, are very much about the step-by-step process, which is great. It prepares you very well, but RISD prepares you really well because you're more than anything learning how to look at your ideas from many different angles. So that sets you apart because you're able to creatively problem solve and creatively execute your ideas. And you just have a different way of looking at the world. So you learn right off the bat that there's so many ways to get from point A to point B. So really that, and then like interdisciplinary exploration and just not being pigeonholed is a huge part of RISD's pedagogy. Okay, the next one, this is actually hits on another question that, or basically one of the other major part of the application, excuse me. For the writing sample, what is required? Is it a summary of undergraduate thesis or something else?
So, I just want to make sure we're wording this correctly. There's the statement of purpose, which is 500 to 750 words. This is required for all candidates. Some programs have specific instructions for this, and that will online. And it's also in the application. When you start an application and you select your program, you'll see that prompt. But some programs have a writing sample that's additional to this. Specifically, our liberal arts program, Global Arts and Cultures, has a writing sample requirement. So you'll want to, that information's online. I don't know off the top of my head exactly what that writing sample requirement is for the liberal arts program, but you can find that online.
Um, how interdisciplinary is the MFA at RISD? I would like to explore multiple mediums while at RISD, and I'm not sure if this school supports that kind of learning. If RISD does offer interdisciplinary options, how do we apply for that since there's not a general fine arts MFA?
So you can definitely see that. Maren had put a link in the chat to our thesis show. I think that's a great representation of our final students' work, of the type of interdisciplinary work that students are doing, the different mediums that they're using. I would say RISD is very interdisciplinary between the elective courses that you have built into your curriculum, the Grad Commons courses that you can take, and the required winter session. There's a ton of opportunities where you can explore different types of mediums, for sure.
Absolutely. You did speak to financial aid before, but can you talk more about financial aid for international students, Jen?
Yeah, totally. So, like I mentioned in the presentation, domestic students and international students are both eligible for financial aid. Everyone's viewed on the same level here. The international population at RISD is super important at the grad level. It's, I think, 40%, maybe a little bit more of the graduate population is international. And like I mentioned, there is that RISD institutional financial aid form. That's like the one thing that you need to fill out. I can't stress enough how important that is. For domestic students, you'll want to fill out the FAFSA as well, in addition to the RISD institutional financial aid form. But in order to be considered, you just have to fill that form out. And we'll be doing webinars. I'm in the process of scheduling it now with student financial services on how graduate students finance their graduate education as well. So hopefully that will be helpful as too.
Oh, great. That you just answered one of the upcoming questions, which is if there's specific financial aid info sessions. So
They're
perfect.
coming. They're coming.
Thank
They're going to
you.
be on the website soon.
Um, this is a portfolio question. For the portfolio, if you have book-focused work, can you upload PDFs or mainly showcase selected spreads?
We we strongly discourage multi-page PDFs for the portfolio. Um, Part of the portfolio requirement is 10 to 20 examples. And that's the challenge. That's your task for the portfolio requirement. We don't want to see all your work. We want to see a small range of your work. People do have, I would suggest showcasing selective spreads. How many you choose is up to you, as long as you stay within that 10 to 20 page requirement. Sometimes a GIF can be helpful in this type of situation where it can be like an image that flips through the spreads. Yeah, anything to
Yeah,
add to that, Megan?
I would just say that I agree with you. Like, you certainly don't want to use, you want to make sure that you're showing other, leaving room for other projects in the 20 slides you have to play with. So yeah, maybe choosing like dedicating a slide or two to showing a couple of like a spread or another illustration from the book. What you can also do, though I can't guarantee that your reviewer will take a look, you can have an example from your book and then have a link to the full book in the description box. Specifically put it in the description box because it's also, you can't select a link from the slide and it'd be too cluttered that way. But in Slideroom, there's a description box and you can put a link there to the rest of your book. And it's possible that your reviewer will check it out. Okay. Okay, question is asking, is there a program that focuses primarily on drawing? And I would suggest that's probably illustration. Illustration focuses quite a bit on drawing and actually has a wide umbrella in terms of mediums and that you use. I would recommend checking out illustration though.
Thank you, Maren.
Yeah. Every graduate program for visual arts MFA I have seen explores both conceptual theory and hands-on technique. I'm wondering whether RISD leans more towards the theory side or the technique side for their visual art MFAs. Kind of feel like that goes with what I talked about in terms of like how RISD sets itself apart, very much about the concepts behind work, but also about like technical skill and then using mediums in an unconventional way, so you'll get again, you'll be taught and like have the experience of working with different mediums, and then, using them, and always encourage think outside the box with your concepts and your techniques. And also I feel like with grad, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jen, but with grad, it's like you come in, you're learning a lot, and you're learning a lot from your teachers and from your fellow students, but it's also very, like, you're taking, of course, classes, but it's also very, I want to say self-driven, like you kind of get to kind of, you fulfill the classes that you need for your degree and whatnot, and but you're really kind of you're kind of driven by what you want to get out of the program, if that makes sense, versus just following a specific curriculum alone. I don't know if I'm actually speaking out of turn there, but
No,
basically
that's
you kind
perfect,
of what you
Maren.
make it
Right.
in a
Yeah,
lot of ways.
exactly.
Okay, cool. I'm applying to the Masters of Architecture program as someone who does not have an architecture background. Is there any prerequisite courses I need to fulfill in order to be eligible for admissions?
Nope. So you would be eligible for that 3-year track that I mentioned for architecture. That starts in the summer of the first year. That would start the first week of July. And I believe it is 7 or 8 weeks. And that would provide you for the foundation that you need that would prepare you for the academic year at RISD. That 3-year track is mostly people like yourself who do not have that BArch or that architecture background.
Excellent.
So when you're applying to that 3-year track, it's the faculty within the department that review your applications, and they'll be used to seeing portfolios for that 3-year track that may not have a robust architectural, renderings because that people are coming from different backgrounds.
The next question is asking where they can find info sessions for specific programs. They're interested in landscape architecture and textiles. And I'm going to put in the chat, the regular chat box, upcoming graduate events. And I know, yeah, Jen, you had just said that we're in the process, or did they've dropped on the website now? They've recently been posted, these specific faculty panel?
So So a landscape panel has been posted. That one will be featured on October 28th. We'll have Emily Vogler for that session. She is the graduate program director for the landscape architecture program. We'll also be doing a 1 hour dedicated session for each of our 18 degree programs during November during our online open house. So from November 17th to the 20th, we'll be having 1 hour dedicated sessions for each of our graduate degree programs. I'm working on getting those scheduled now in the coming weeks, and once we have them confirmed, they'll be posted online and you'll be emailed a lot about it. So don't worry about it. Now that you've attended an event here at RISD, you'll be getting lots of emails now moving forward about all of our upcoming events.
Excellent. How many Society of Presidential Fellows awards are given per discipline? And for example, does the painting department give the award to painters, or is it a general school award?
So the Society of Presidential Fellows Awards generally is about 7 to 10 awards in total for all of our programs. So each graduate program director during the application review process will put forward a top candidate from their incoming admit pool. Then all the GPDs will meet, they'll review all the options, and they'll decide who those 7 candidates are. So unfortunately, there isn't one for each program. It's voted on for those selective spots. And again, there's nothing special you need to do. This information is need and merit from the application itself. So they'll be looking at your portfolio and your statement of purpose and your background.
So this kind of goes with the question before about like if you have a different background other than a studio degree. The question is, should we consider using some professional references rather than solely art-related references?
So we get this question actually a lot, like who should references be? And it's really anybody who can speak to either your ability as an artist and designer or your ability as a graduate student. If you've been out of school for a long time, it can be professional references for sure. Anybody that can just speak to your work ethic. But make sure when you're asking people, you ask people before you send them the automated invitation. It's always nice to get permission from somebody before you send that forward, and make sure you're asking people who can write you a strong letter of recommendation.
Mm. What does faculty mentorship look like at RISD? Is it more structured, like scheduled check-ins, or student initiated?
I would say again, how it varies by program by program. Some programs are super small. You have like example for glass that will have a cohort of 3. So the faculty student ratio is really small. And then you have somewhere like the architecture program where the incoming cohort between the 2 year and the 3 year is about 40 students. So I think it depends on your program and the size. Some program, the larger programs might be a little bit more student driven, while others might just happen more organically. Anything to add to that, Mir?
No, I think that was perfect.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, because and you're always, I mean, all the faculty here, they're really responsive and
Mhm.
always very supportive of their students. So if you, yeah, I think you're always welcome to initiate and schedule regular meetings, perhaps. But yeah, it does depend department to department. So I would say that too. Um, this is just a clarification of the writing sample.
Yes,
So on our list
I
of
can.
applications, do you see that? Yeah.
Yeah, I read it, and I'll just answer it real quickly.
Yeah.
If for any of the special requirements that you see on the website, only the programs that have specific requirements are listed. If your program isn't there, you don't have one. So for example, the writing sample prompt, if you don't see your program, for example, graphic design, that means they don't have one. When you start an application through the portal, that prompt won't be there for you. So again, I can't stress enough how important it is to dive in and start an application now. So you can see and select your program within the application, so you can see all the specific requirements within that program. But yeah, if your program isn't listed, you just have to meet the minimum requirement.
Mhm. Um, so this person's undergraduate major was sculpture and they want to apply for painting. Can they upload their sculpture works for the portfolio, or should they only upload painting works? And I would encourage you to upload sculpture works that is strong, but like make sure that the majority of your work feels like it's directed towards specifically the painting department. But that doesn't mean that you can't include other disciplines, and certainly painting is and sculpture, they're both fine arts, they're both kind of very open-ended, so they can certainly, kind of overlap quite a bit. But I would just make sure overall that it feels like it's directed towards painting. But again, they're both departments are quite open-ended.
Yeah, for 100%. And you should just feature work that you're authentically interested in, and you will have the opportunity in Slide Room, that's where you will submit your portfolio, to add a description section. If you wanted to add some context in there on the work itself, and then also your statement of purpose can also bridge that gap as well. How has sculpture informed your painting now? So that's an opportunity to do that. But 100%, you can definitely include sculpture work if you're planning to painting.
Mhm. This question is about the English proficiency test. If someone would
Mhm.
do they still need to take TOEFL or IELTS or Duolingo if they have been living in the United States for 10 years, about 10 years, and they finished their bachelor degree in the US? Does it have anything to do with their citizenship status, like that English language requirement?
And nope, if English is your second language, even if you're a US resident, you are required to submit test scores. We will waive the test score if you've recently completed 4 years at an English speaking institution. So, and that can be a school that's been abroad, like say you attended a school in China where English was the primary language of instruction. We would just need to see on the transcript that that was the primary language of instruction, or have a letter from the school indicating that. And it was within 2 years of graduating, and we would generally waive that requirement for you.
Excellent. Someone asked a question about whether or not we can use projects they did in undergrad for the portfolio. I would say I mean, if it's a strong example of your work and if you did it within the last couple of years, it's a good to pick your best pieces that you've done within the last couple of years. You don't want to go too far back. And I would encourage you to include pieces like if they're you're making work that's in response to an assignment, that's totally fine, but it, should feel like you're taking that prompt and running with it and doesn't feel like, an assignment, if that makes any sense. Okay, for the
Perfect.
MFA in graphic design, do students work directly with a specific faculty member for their thesis? So should I reach out to professors that I would be interested in working with, or is that something students do later in the degree?
Yep, so that is not something that applicants will do in the front end of applying. That's something that's different. I see this a lot with a lot of international applicants. They think they need to find like a mentor ahead of time or find a faculty sponsor. But you don't need to do that at RISD. In many cases, if prospective students reach out to faculty, they'll just end up forwarding the request to admissions. So that's not a step that you need to do here. That's something, if admitted, will happen organically after you've enrolled.
This person has a question about the learning more about like career opportunities after Master of Architecture, and just wondering about specific career paths, and the impact we hope our alumni have in the field, and the vision or message RISD aims to instill in its graduates. I'm going to start off by just saying that I'm going to drop again in the regular chat RISD Career Services. Definitely take a look at that website, explore. There's a ton of resources, and RISD Careers is there for you, not just as a student, but forever after you graduate too. So you have those. And then,
Perfect.
yeah.
Yeah, and they break down program to program the different career paths that each students from each program go on to. But also I'm going to do an event plug on in 2 weeks from today. On September 23rd, we'll be doing that portfolio tips session with faculty. The September 23rd will feature the graduate program director from the Masters of Architecture program. So this is like a broad Q&A. So you can ask questions about the portfolio, the program itself, outcomes, all sorts of things. But that's for the architecture specifically. You'll want to check out that session.
Because there are many design programs like MID, MLA, MDes, March, do professors teach in multiple of these programs? Are there opportunities to pull across these disciplines in one's thesis?
Perfect. As I mentioned like earlier on, that like interdisciplinary study here is RISD is so important to how what makes RISD so special. So there are tons of opportunities for that to happen here. And again, if you look at the thesis show, you can see how that interdisciplinary connection happens through the final student's work. Um, but yeah, I
Mhm.
think that answers the question. Let me just go back.
Can you speak to like working like a sculpture major being able to access like ceramics or textiles and glass, like students working in other studios?
Totally. Some of the shops are specialized, so you do need certain training for them. So part of it will be making connections with your peers, getting invitations into those spaces. You may have to reach out to faculty to get permission into certain shops. But like we mentioned, we have places like CoWorks that allow you to work with different types of mediums. And we have the Grad's Common courses that allow you in the winter session courses that will allow you to experiment with different types of mediums and materials as well.
Okay. Is there a certain number of allotted credits that grad students can use for non-degree electives? Or is it vary based on the program?
It varies based on the program. If you go into our registrar's office, if you go into the RISD grad admissions, each grad website will bring you to the registrar's office course log, so you can actually see like fall, winter, spring, the number of elective credits that are available for each program for each semester. So
Mhm.
all that information is online.
Yes, on the department pages. I'll answer this really quickly because we get it quite often. Is it 10 to 20 examples of visual work? Is it 10 to 20 projects or works, or 10 to 20 pages showing examples of work? At least 10 different projects, because you could easily have more than one slide dedicated to showing one project. But really, and that's absolutely fine, but there should be at least 10 different projects that you're showcasing in your portfolio. Just to clarify that. Let's see. Okay. Does I know you've talked extensively about financial aid already, but if they're US citizens or dual citizens, does this specifically affect financial aid processing or status?
Um, Not specifically. I think US citizens and dual citizens, you are, don't quote me, I would reach out to our Student Financial Services office, but I think you're either or you're eligible for the FAFSA. So that will be an extra application for you to also fill out to be considered for federal financial aid. Um, but you're not viewed any differently than, say, an international student.
Okay. I just put the link again to graduate student aid. This
Thank you.
question is about including work that you use AI to help you generate the image and then sketch it on canvas and painted it. Can you use those? I mean, as long as you're using AI as a tool and you're also including that in the description box. So just make sure to speak to the fact that you used AI and in what way.
Yeah.
If it's strong, I think it could potentially be in the portfolio. I would definitely veer on the side of making sure that you're not using IA generated work or IA assisted work for most of the work you're putting in the portfolio. But if you have like one or two pieces that you want to include, still make sure to put that in the description box.
And I just want to hit that home again in slide room. You'll have a description section. Make sure you're stating how AI was used in creating that work.
Yes, for sure. Oh, this one I think is an important question real quick. Is there a limit to the number of programs that I may apply to? Because
You
you can
can
only
only apply, you can only apply to one. I
one.
know.
There is a limit
That
and
one,
it's one.
it's tough. And you cannot double major here at RISD. So it is a big decision to make, but you do have all fall. You can attend all of our sessions throughout the fall, including the online open house, to make sure that you're choosing the right program.
Excellent. Can you talk about Rizzy's relationship to craft?
I'm not
But
sure.
I'm not, do you mean, I guess I'm actually need more clarification on that question too. So if you want to, we
Mhm.
might not have time to answer it, but you can email us. I'm not really sure what you mean by
I
that.
know we got a couple minutes left, so we'll do our
Yeah,
bet. We
I'm gonna try
clearly
to zip through and see if there's any that are like not similar to the ones we've answered already. Oh, application fee waivers.
email us, email
Email us.
admissions@risd.edu with your request, and we will review it.
Okay, but there's some of these that we've already answered. Um, how much of the curriculum should be from RISD versus Brown? And what does using Brown's classes look like for students seeking classes not available through RISD's class courses? I mean, really, when it comes to cross registration, all you're doing is there really is no limit to the number of classes that RISD students can take at Brown. And you're really just when you cross register, you're just registering for classes at Brown, fitting them into your schedule at RISD. So you're not going to be earning a minor degree from Brown in any way by doing that. But as long as you're still fulfilling your requirements to earn your degree at RISD, great. So yeah, kind of
Mhm.
however you want to do it. Um, let's see. Let me know if you see anything that we haven't really touched on.
We get this question a lot. We'll touch base upon it during our portfolio prep session. We'll be having one towards the end of the month. But should I include process shots and sketches or keep it only finished works in my portfolio? If process is important to the work, I would say sure, include a shot or two, but I wouldn't inundate your portfolio with all process work. Only if it was important to to the work itself and
Exactly.
relevant.
Most should be finished and fully realized, but if you have strong examples of process work, a few, up to 3, I would say you can.
All right, Miriam, it's 4 o'clock.
Yes.
So we could keep going on and on, unfortunately, but there will be many other opportunities to ask your questions. Send us an email if we don't get to your question. But again, it's just September. It's September 6th, so September 9th. We have over 30 info sessions, 60 if you include the open house between now and the deadline. So this is just the beginning. Don't stress out. There's plenty of opportunities to learn more. I want you to check out the portfolio tips, the faculty sessions that will be coming up. I have the architecture ones up there now, so sign up for those, and the MFA ones are coming shortly. But by January, you'll be sick of our faces, but hopefully we'll help you and you'll feel confident when you're applying. But thank you, Miriam, for helping me out today, and thank you everyone for joining us from wherever you're signing on from.
Thank you, Jen. Great presentation.
Great.
Thanks,
Thank you, everyone.
everyone.
Have a good evening, morning, wherever you are. Bye.